Ever since the release of the anime in 2018 and the game in 2021, Umamusume was always considered one of those franchises that could only succeed in Japan due to the absurdity behind the concept. First of all, racehorse is not a very popular sport outside of Japan, and even there, before Umamusume, it was in a steady decline, with the only people interested in it being from an older generation. Second of all, Japan was, and still is, known for their tendency to turn everything into cute anime girls. From every animal you can think under the sun, to objects such as planes, warships and soda cans. So when you tell a regular person that there is this franchise about horse girls racing who are also idols and sing after a race, you think that most people would be a bit weirded out. But 2025 brought us the release of Umamusume in the West, and to everyone's surprise, the game was a massive hit. The game that many thought has no chance in the West and would only be popular in Japan managed to get everyone by surprise, myself included, and became one of the most popular games of 2025. Everybody played this game on release, to the point where it even became the new meta for streamers and content creators on the major live streaming platforms. It's safe to say that the success of this game blew away every expectation. But with this success, the question of why in God's sake also rises in the minds of a lot of people. How did this game, with such a silly idea behind it, succeed outside of Japan? And luckily for you, this is exactly the topic of today's video, so buckle up. If you've been around the anime and gacha community for a while, like me, you know that the culture behind them wasn't really that mainstream a few years ago. When I started watching anime, the medium was still very niche in the West and nobody would openly talk about it. In fact, it was seen as a very weird hobby that people wouldn't openly admit to enjoy, unless they wanted to get bullied. But slowly through the 2010s, the medium rose in popularity, and during the pandemic, it exploded. Anime went from the hidden hobby you hide from your parents and classmates at school to something that pretty much everybody watches these days, and having open discussions about it doesn't feel like social suicide anymore. Although the ones that are popular are mostly shonen, and while Umamusume has strong shonen vibes, especially with newer shows like Cinderella Grey, it still has some aspects like the idol stuff that are rather niche. Also during the pandemic, a small game that you might have heard about called Genshin Impact just released and took the world by storm, propelling gacha games from those cheap-looking PNG games that people in Asia like to play and sell their kidneys for to games that can produce PC and console level of quality and are fun to play. The boom of gacha started with Genshin and it continued over the years with games like HSR, Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero. Gacha games aren't just a small niche anymore, but a very popular and accepted type of game and monetization model in the West. Although the people in the Western countries are a lot more vocal about the predatory practices that the monetization model implies, if the game is good, people are willing to overlook the negatives for the positives. And all this boom in popularity happened fairly recently. So while 5 years ago Umamusume would have been seen like a concept that could never work in the West, the mainstream popularity of anime and the rise of gacha games in the Western market created a subset of people who are used to this kind of absurd concept and aggressive monetization. So let me ask you, is Umamusume really that weird? Yes it is. Another big factor why the game got popular overseas is because the game is actually good. Look, if I learned something is that people will play anything no matter how absurd the concept may be as long as it's fun. And Umamusume is very fun. I mean, it's a roguelike, sports simulator with anime aesthetics, good graphics, quality gameplay, cute characters, and tons of endearing and uplifting stories. Who wouldn't want to play it? Not to mention that there aren't many games like this on the market. Despite every absurd idea in the game, Umamusume appeals very clearly to the people who like roguelike games and sport manager games like Football Manager, although Umamusume is a lot more toned down and made easier to play. Ichuma has a very fun and distinct personality, and due to the random nature of the gameplay, inheritance system and the support card system, No two runs are the same. Also, watching the races is a very fun experience. Whether your Uma surges just to the front in the last minute and takes the first place, or is blocked by a random no-name Uma in the last leg and all you can do is curse the RNG gods. The game has many layers that give it immense replayability. Whether you farm from parents, an ace for the next champions meeting, a good runner for team trials, experience the story of each career, or simply try to win Ari McKinnon with Haru Rara, there is always something fun for you to do. Although not everything about the game is good, like the gacha system, which follows a very outdated model typical for Japan that is very unforgiving. But like I said, many people are willing to look past it because the game is just that good. So no matter how popular the anime and gacha games may be, no matter how many anime and other media the franchises has to boost its popularity, everything would amount to nothing if the game wasn't actually good. Umamusume is a multimedia franchise, meaning that by the time the game released on global, the series already accumulated a vast amount of media such as anime, manga, games, and other content made over the years which the global players can immerse in order to explore the franchise, get attached to the characters, stories, and serve as both a gateway and a catalyst to stay invested in the Umamusume world. From my experience, having a multimedia franchise like this could be both a good and a bad thing at the same time. And fortunately for Musume, the way Cygames chose to handle their multimedia world is good. The reason why many multimedia franchises fail is because they overwhelm the consumer with a lot of interconnected stories across multiple media, leaving them confused, prone to fear of missing out, or forcing them to consume media that they don't normally enjoy. I'm looking at you, Honkai Impact 3rd. Look, I love Honkai Impact 3rd, but when I have to give every new person interested in the franchise an entire guide that covers multiple media that looks like this, of course many people won't be interested and feel discouraged to start it. But because Cygames chose to make each manga, anime season and Umamusume related media its own contained story that focuses on a specific Uma or generation of Umas, the burden that falls on the consumer is a lot lighter. People who want to experience Umamusume are not forced to consume the media in a specific order, or they can choose to opt out from a certain media they don't want to consume and still not miss out on anything important. Even in the game, each story and career is self-contained, and people are able to consume it in small chunks or focus on specific parts and characters they are interested in. This makes the franchise feel a lot more alive, and people have a lot more options nowadays to approach it and consume it over time in order to keep their interest alive, which is something that the JP players didn't have in the beginning. Cygames also made the very good decision to synchronize the release of Cinderella Grey, which in my opinion is the Umamusume anime with the most mainstream appeal, with the release of the global version of the game driving a lot of interest from Cin Grey to the actual game. They also did something similar with the JP version of the game, which released at the same time as Season 2 of the anime was airing. Initially it was supposed to release way back when Season 1 first came out in 2018, but Cygame ended up postponing the release for over 2 years as they reworked most of the game from ground up. So yeah, having so many media to consume from the franchise also contributed a lot to its success. Cin Grey was topping the spring anime charts way before the game released. Another unique thing to Umamusume is how every story and every Uma is based on a real-life racehorse. Cygames went above and beyond to make sure that every Umamusume is a tribute to an actual racehorse in Japan. This adds an entire new layer to the characters and their stories that you won't find in any other franchise. Every sad, happy, uplifting, intense and heartbreaking moment is based on a real-life event. Even the in-game careers are based on the real-life horse's career, or a career reimaginated into a what-if scenario if the horse retired early, or even worse, had an injury and needed to be put down. An example of this is Silence Suzuka, whose real-life counterpart suffered a fracture during the 1998 autumn tenor show and needed to be euthanized on the spot. In the game, you follow the same career as Suzuka and get to race in the same race that ended the real-life horse's life. But unlike real life, you get to witness her win and experience a happy ending that the real-life counterpart sadly didn't get to enjoy. Even in the anime, Suzuka gets injured during the same race, but unlike the real-life horse, she gets to recover and come back on the turf. This serves both as a tribute to the real-life horse and an honor to the legacy they left behind. And it's not just that. The lore of the real-life horses and the umamusume they are depicted as constantly bounces off each other. That is why we have umas like Gold Sheep, who in real life was a notoriously difficult horse to train, very moody and always up to mischief, who was translated into an umamusume that shares the same traits, albeit in a more exaggerated manner. She kicks you, refuses to show up for training, she abducts you and is constantly blabbering nonsense. Another example is Aston Machan, who lived and raced in the same period as Vodka and Daiwa Scarlet but died early and never got the chance to be cemented in the history as the two other horses from the same generation. Because of this, Cygames portrayed the umamusume version of Aston Machan as someone who wants people to always remember her. She always shows up alongside Vodka and Scarlet, staring blankly into the camera, reminding people that at some point she existed and that she also deserved to be remembered alongside them. Then we have Haru Urara, whose real-life counterpart recently passed away at the age of 29. Rest in peace, Haru. She is a horse who ran in 113 races and won none, but who became a national sensation due to her sheer determination to never give up in the face of constant failure. Because of this, her umamusume counterpart is portrayed as a happy and energetic girl who always gives her best and is happy no matter what place she ends up finishing the race in. Through this game, you can change history and help Haru achieve her dreams that the real horse never got to experience. And it's not just the stories, people actually became interested in real-life racehorsing, closely following races, wondering who is going to be added next to the game, making memes based on the real horses and their Uma version, and overall combining the sport of horse racing with anime and meme culture into this strange amalgamation of stories, both real and fictional, both tragic and uplifting, and more than anything, stories that inspire people to become better human beings. I have been part of many communities over the years, but I can confidently say that the umamusume community is something truly unique. When you factor in all these reasons, no matter how absurd they may seem, it's no surprise that this game and this franchise are a success. Cygames unlocked the recipe for something truly special here, and you can clearly see the respect and the appreciation they have for these horses and for the sport of horse racing. I believe that this franchise has a bright future in the global community, and I cannot wait to see where we're going from here. Umamusume is more than just a game, it's an experience like none other. Now, Cygames give us some quality of life improvements that JP already has, and all is good.
Go to